This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to all of you enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. I'm filling in for Sean for the next 2 days as he's out on a media launch for the new Lincoln Navigator. A couple of years ago, when Cupra announced it was going to enter the U.S. market, we thought it was crazy. There are already too many automakers with too many brands, with too much manufacturing capacity aimed at the American market. And when President Trump announced he was going to slap an additional 25% tariff on all imported cars, we were sure Cupra's plans were dead in the water. But we were wrong. Ignacy Prieto, the chief brand officer of Cupra, says their plan is to enter the U.S. market by 2030, and they are confident the tariff situation will be resolved by then. Cupra plans to launch in the U.S. with at least 3 models that will offer ICE, PHEV, and BEV options depending on the model. It's in talks with Penske Automotive to sell its cars, and Cupra is a spin-off of Seat, which is part of the Volkswagen Group. It's positioned its lineup between Volkswagen and Audi, and its prices range from the high €30,000 to high €40,000 range. It's done rather well in Europe and believes it can do well in the U.S. market as well. But while Cupra is bullish on entering the U.S. market, other automakers are still reeling from the tariffs. Mitsubishi stopped shipping cars to U.S. dealers and will hold all incoming vehicles at U.S. ports. All of the vehicles the automaker sells in the U.S. are made in Japan, and Mitsubishi told Automotive News that it will hold them at ports until it has, and I quote here, additional visibility on tariffs. It says it has a nearly 100-day supply at its dealers already, and it seems to us the real crisis for most automakers will start to hit at the end of June after they burn through the inventory they already have. And yet, despite the tariffs, Lincoln will continue to import the Nautilus from China. It doesn't plan to raise prices yet, but at some point that's going to become inevitable. The Nautilus currently sells at just over $53,000. Lincoln also says it doesn't expect China's retaliatory tariffs to have an impact on the Navigator, which is shipped from the U.S. to China, and Lincoln's not worried because it sells in such low volume. But while Lincoln will continue to ship Navigators to China, Tesla will stop shipping the Model S and X. China is retaliating to Trump's moves by raising tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles by 125%, making them prohibitively expensive. And of course, the S and X are made in the U.S. Reuters reports that Tesla only sold 1,553 Model X's and only 311 Model S's in China last year, which only accounted for 2.1% of the total sales of those models globally. We estimate Tesla will lose about $150 million in revenue because of this. And then, to try and boost sales of the Cybertruck, Tesla is coming out with a decontented version priced at $72,235, which is about $10,000 cheaper than the prior long-range model. That also means it qualifies for the $7,500 rebate for EVs. Tesla got rid of the front motor, the air suspension, and a rear light bar. One advantage of going with a 2-wheel drive version is that it picked up 25 more miles of driving range, bringing the total to 350 miles. It also charges faster. Tesla clearly has to do something to boost sales. Cox Automotive says it only sold 6,406 Cybertrucks in the U.S. in the first quarter, which was worse than the Ford Lightning, which is also struggling in the market.
Performance that shines, even in the rain. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza tires, improved grip in wet conditions.
Many Chinese automakers are growing strong, but not all of them. And Neta Auto is in deep trouble. It only sold 487 vehicles in China in the first 2 months of the year. And now the automaker is facing protests from its own dealers who claim that it's failed to deliver vehicles. About 20 dealer reps protested at the company's factory gates, demanding that the company reimburse them for operational losses. Neta says it wants to hit positive gross profit margins this year and overall profitability next year. But to us, that just sounds like happy talk. And it's not just Neta. Polestar is scaling back its operations in China. It's closing some of its stores and canceling a sales and marketing joint venture with a local company. Even though its first quarter sales were up 76% in China, Polestar only sold 3,120 vehicles there last year. The automaker says it's still committed to China, but sees, and I quote here, a lot of growth in Europe. Even so, we think Polestar would have to at least triple its global sales to become a viable car company. DiDi, the Chinese ride-hailing service, is making a big move into Mexico. It plans to bring 100,000 EVs to Mexico by 2030 to compete with Uber Mexico. DiDi will use EVs from a variety of Chinese automakers, including DePaul, GAC, and BYD. It also plans to build 10,000 EV chargers in Brazil to expand there as well. Moreover, DiDi is working with GAC to come out with a Level 4 Robotaxi in China by the end of this year. The car will use DiDi's tech stack with 33 sensors, including LiDAR cameras, 4D radar, infrared cameras, and sound sensors, which are all said to work in all weather conditions. And it wouldn't surprise us to see those robotaxis end up in Mexico and Brazil as well. And you know, it looks like Americans are starting to warm up to the idea of using robotaxis. 20% of Uber rides in Austin, Texas were handled by Waymo's robotaxis in just its first month of operation. That is the fastest adoption rate that Waymo has seen compared to San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. A key reason is that in Austin, you can order robotaxis using Uber's app, while in those other cities, you have to use Waymo's app. Waymo, by the way, also has plans to expand into Washington, D.C., San Diego, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Miami, and Tokyo. Okay, for the end here, the big news at Volkswagen this week is that you can now play Pac-Man in your car. Well, at least you can in Europe. The game is now available on the infotainment screen as long as you're parked, and you use your smartphone as a controller. It's a customized version of the game that replaces classic Pac-Man icons like fruit with wheel rims and silhouettes of iconic VWs, like the Beetle. Also, in certain ID models, the interior lighting responds to inputs by the player and what's going on in the game for a more immersive experience. That game is now available in about 300,000 vehicles in Europe. And that brings us to the end of today's report. Thank you for watching Autoline Daily.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.